In a forgotten industrial district where rusted steel skeletons clawed at a starless sky, reality began to rot. It started with a puzzle box. Not merely an artifact, but a doorway, a summoning device forged in suffering and desire. When the final configuration clicked into place, the air split like torn flesh. Hooks of chain erupted from nothingness, rattling with anticipation, dragging the scent of cold iron and ancient agony into the mortal world. From the wound in space stepped Pinhead, the Hell Priest, High Priest of Pain, his pale flesh mapped with a grid of scars, nails driven into his skull like a crown of blasphemous thorns. His black robes whispered across the ground, though no wind blew. "Your suffering will be legendary," he intoned, voice calm, cultured, absolute. But this summoning was no accident. It was bait. Miles away, something else had already crossed into this dying part of the city, something drawn not by curiosity, but by rage. Cain Marco, the man cursed with unstoppable momentum, had been hunting rumors, whispers of a cult, disappearances, buildings emptied overnight, the kind of thing that annoyed him because it interfered with the only things he cared about, smashing obstacles and getting paid. When he reached the factory district, he found silence so complete it felt unnatural. No rats, no wind, no distant traffic, just the slow metallic chime of chains striking concrete somewhere ahead. Then he saw the bodies, not dead, not alive, suspended, torn open and rearranged like grotesque sculptures, their faces frozen between ecstasy and horror. Even for a man who had torn through armies and gods alike, the sight stirred something unpleasant. "Yeah, that's not normal," he muttered. A new voice answered, smooth, precise, utterly devoid of fear, pain and pleasure, indivisible. From the darkness stepped Juggernaut's opposite in every conceivable way. Thin where he was massive, composed where he was fury, still where he was motion. Pinhead regarded him not as a threat, but as a specimen. "You carry immense power," the Hell Priest observed. "A gift, or perhaps a curse." Juggernaut cracked his knuckles, concrete powder falling from his gloves. "Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you picked the wrong neighborhood to redecorate." Chains slithered across the floor like living serpents, coiling and uncoiling with eager metallic whispers. "We are explorers," Pinhead said calmly. "In the further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others. Yeah, to me you look like a nail bomb in a bathrobe." For the first time, Pinhead tilted his head, not in anger, but intrigue. The being before him radiated raw force, a metaphysical weight that pressed against the boundaries of his dimension. Not merely strong, anchored, protected by something ancient and stubborn. Cyttorak's blessing. Pinhead could feel it. A crimson barrier of eldritch power, older than many hells, binding the man to unstoppable motion and near absolute invulnerability. A fascinating resistance, Pinhead murmured. "You may prove exquisite." Chains fired. They wrapped Juggernaut's arms, torso, legs, hooks digging for purchase. Sparks exploded as metal screamed against mystical armor and flesh that refused to yield. The floor cracked as the chains strained, links snapping one by one like brittle twigs. Juggernaut didn't slow down. He walked forward. Each step thundered like artillery, dragging broken chains behind him. "Okay," he said, rolling his shoulders as the last links fell away. "My turn." For the first time in centuries, the Hell Priest felt something unfamiliar, not fear, anticipation. Because this was not a mortal soul begging for sensation. This was a force that might challenge even Hell's designs. Pinhead raised a hand. The air split wider. Behind him, a labyrinth of hooks, blades, and screaming darkness unfolded, the threshold of Leviathan's realm pressing against Earth. "If you will not submit," he declared, voice echoing with cosmic authority, "you will be taken." Juggernaut lowered his helmeted head, stance shifting, the ground beneath his boots spider webbing with fractures. "Lady," he rumbled, "once I start moving, nothing stops me." Hell reached forward. The unstoppable force leaned in, and the world braced for impact. Hell unfolded, not metaphorically, physically. The factory district peeled open like a wound, concrete liquefying into blackened geometry as the domain of Leviathan forced its way into the mortal plane. Rusted girders twisted into screaming pillars, the sky inverted into a vast rotating diamond of darkness. From every surface erupted chains, thousands of them, barbed, hooked, serrated, alive with sadistic purpose. At the center of this expanding nightmare stood Pinhead, serene as a priest at the altar. "Your flesh will learn the ecstasies of annihilation," he promised. Across the broken ground, Juggernaut answered by charging. The first impact sounded like a meteor strike. Chains snapped taut, hundreds wrapping his limbs, neck and torso at once. Hooks large as knives slammed into him with enough force to shred tanks. The ground cratered beneath his momentum as hell itself attempted to anchor him in place. For an instant, one impossible instant, the unstoppable force slowed. Pinhead's black eyes glinted with cold satisfaction. Then Juggernaut roared, not in pain, in irritation. Muscles like coiled steel cables flexed. Crimson power flared across his armor as the blessing of Cyttorak surged in answer to resistance. One by one, the chains began to fail, links warping, stretching, then detonating apart in showers of molten fragments. He took another step. Reality screamed. Pinhead raised both hands. The labyrinth responded instantly. Massive pillars tipped forward, collapsing like executioner blades. Walls folded inward. A storm of hooks rained down with surgical precision, targeting joints, eyes, throat, any vulnerability. Juggernaut didn't dodge. He smashed through. Concrete liquefied under his boots. Blades shattered against his helmet in explosions of sparks. Hooks embedded in his armor, only to be torn free as his momentum dragged entire structures down behind him. "Is that it?" he bellowed. "I've fought tougher traffic." Pinhead's expression did not change, but the air around him grew heavy, oppressive. This brute force was inconvenient. Physical domination meant little to a being who ruled agony itself, so he changed tactics. The chains stopped attacking the body. They attacked the soul. Invisible hooks slipped past flesh, piercing into memory, guilt, fear, dragging nightmares into the open. Images flooded the air. Betrayal, rage, humiliation, the long shadow of his stepbrother, the endless cycle of violence that defined Cain Marco's existence. Pain not of the body, but of identity. "For all your strength," Pinhead said softly, "you are still a man, and men break." Juggernaut staggered, not physically, spiritually. The charge slowed as the weight of his past pressed against him, every failure and fury magnified into suffocating pressure. Then he started laughing, a deep, thunderous, utterly humorless sound. "Buddy, I don't do guilt." Crimson energy erupted outward like a shockwave. The spectral chains snapped as surely as the physical ones. Cyttorak's power did not care about psychology, morality, or trauma. It was pure, stubborn domination, the will to move forward made manifest. Juggernaut lunged the final distance. Pinhead unleashed everything. The sky split open completely. From above descended a colossal barbed spear the size of a skyscraper, forged from condensed suffering. Simultaneously, the ground erupted upward in a forest of hooks designed to skewer him from below. A perfect kill box. Juggernaut lowered his shoulder, not stopping. He hit the upward spikes first, shattering them into shrapnel. The falling spear struck his back a microsecond later, with enough force to flatten a city block. The explosion of impact vaporized buildings for miles. When the dust cleared, Juggernaut was on one knee, buried in a crater, but not pierced. The spear had bent around him like soft metal against an anvil. Slowly, inexorably, he stood. Pinhead watched, still calm but no longer certain. "Impossible," the Hell Priest murmured. Juggernaut took one step, then another, then he charged. Distance ceased to matter, obstacles ceased to exist. The laws of physics themselves seemed to yield as the avatar of Cyttorak reached terminal momentum. Pinhead summoned a final wall, a dimensional barrier, a slice of hell itself made solid, a defense that had contained gods, titans, entire civilizations of damned souls. Juggernaut hit it. For one heartbeat, existence held its breath. Then the barrier shattered like glass. He didn't slow down. The collision between Fist and Cenobite sounded small compared to everything else. A single thunderclap in the ruins of a world. Pinhead's body disintegrated into a storm of lightless fragments, chains snapping back into the void as the connection to hell collapsed. The labyrinth recoiled, folding inward, reality stitching itself together with violent snaps of displaced air. Silence fell. Juggernaut skidded to a halt miles away, boots carving trenches through asphalt before he finally stopped. He rolled his shoulders, chunks of debris falling from his armor. Behind him, the sky cleared. The factory district lay in ruins, but Earth remained Earth. No chains, no hooks, no hell priest.